Scott and I are live again once more, and we've got one person that checked in with us, Rusty Deo, checked in with us. I may be on Drawn and Quarter tonight doing Berserker, the
Oh, really?
Keanu Reeves character.
That's
So I have to,
awesome.
so I have to do a little bit of
Prep.
quick prep after we're done. I think I've got about an hour between when we're done and when they start.
Very cool.
Yep.
I,
So
I
you've had some
oh,
issues this week.
okay. So, I, my wife and I run every day since the pandemic. We run every day for 6 months now, or almost 6 months. When it rains, we don't run. Occasionally, we won't, but pretty much every single day. So, I've had this pain in my calf.
Yeah.
Hadn't been, and it's burned. I haven't been able to figure out what was going on, and just burned. And so I, so so Friday I was off because of the holiday. Because Monday was Labor Day, and my work they closed Monday, and then Friday I was off. So I was off 2 days for the holiday, which Friday is only a half day for me. So it wasn't
Yeah.
that big of a deal, but it was still pretty cool. They always do that because they're like people are going to call in, anyway. And so I took the day off, or I was off, and I was gonna go do stuff. I wanted to go to a museum and stuff. And that morning we got up. I told Michelle, I go, man, my leg is just burning. And it kind of goes on my ankle, and I kind of had some hip pain.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little strange. Didn't think much of it. And I had some pants that I had to take to get hemmed. I literally had them for like 8 months, and it's starting to get cold. And I told Michelle, I go, I want to take those pants in and get them hemmed so I can wear them. I bought them, and they're slacks, and so they're like khakis. And they came unhemmed, so you have to take them someplace and get them hemmed up.
Hmm.
Anyway, and they're real nice. So I thought, man, I want to get that taken care of before it gets cold. Which today got cold, by the way. In case you didn't
Yeah.
notice, Ellis.
Yeah. I noticed it. I said,
Anyway,
"What's wrong here?" I was walking around in my boxer shorts as usual, and I said, "What the heck's going on?"
I wondered. When it got cold, I thought because I went outside last night in the evening and I was wearing shorts, and I was like, "Holy crap, it's cold out here!" And this morning I thought, I bet Ellis goes to walk, and he didn't really because you don't watch the news, do you?
Oh, yeah, well, no, but I can get weather forecast. I knew it was going to be cold and wet
Oh, you
today.
did? Okay,
Oh yeah.
okay, okay, okay. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm not giving you enough credit.
I,
Anyway,
I'm 10 days ahead in most cases. I say,
oh, okay,
go
okay,
ahead, go
okay.
ahead.
Anyway, I
It's always surprising though when you learn the fact of how someone else views you. It's like that guy thinks I'm over here. I'm just barely away from being spoon-fed oatmeal. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't say that. No, I just think you have your routine,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I didn't know, and I didn't figure your routine was watching any television. Now
yeah, yeah.
I should have thought, and what it is just Michelle and I get our weather from we watch the news in the
Uh
morning.
huh. Yeah. Uh huh.
Anyway, so I went to the place, and I thought, well, my legs kind of hurt. I think I'm just going to go run a couple errands. I went in there, I tried on the pants. They pinned them where they wanted them, and she said, okay, go in there and change. And when I was taking the pants off, I had the most intense pain, and it went from my hip all the way down my left side that I've ever had. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I was like, I was wearing a pair of shorts. I was like, I can't put these shorts on. It was so bad, Ellis. And I leaned against, there was a chair in there, but I didn't want to sit down because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get up. It was just incredible pain. And so
Did it feel like nerves or did it feel like at the joint?
it felt like my whole, you know what it felt like?
Well, it's always going to be nerves. That's the only
It's
thing
always
that lets you.
nerves.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it felt like it felt like my whole side was on fire. Just this
Hmm.
incredible pain. I mean, you know, I haven't been in a lot of car accidents and stuff like that, and I certainly have never had kids. So, but it was bad pain. Anyway, so I kind of gathered myself. You know, I kind of I leaned against the wall and I got my pants on and I went out and I told the lady. I said, and I had to fill out paperwork still, and I said, you know, I'm sorry. I said, I did something to my back. Well, I didn't give her the whole thing. I said, I did something to my back a while back, and when I was changing, I
But but
tweaked it.
but but you probably tried to give her the whole thing, right? I'm kidding.
the but I so she said, oh, you know, I'm so sorry. She said, you know, just sit here and you know, if you want to rest for a second before you leave. And I said, okay. And I didn't even put my shoes on, Ellis.
Huh.
And she so she left. She went in the back. She took my pants. She went in the back. And I said, I'm not going to feel any better. I need to get home.
Yeah.
And so barefoot, well, in my socks, I walked out and got in the car and drove home. And the whole time I was just praying, please God, do not let me wreck. Because I have a stick shift car.
Because you were getting stabbing pains, every little bit of
Oh
pressure you
gosh.
using with your
Oh
feet, right?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so I got home and I hollered at Michelle and I said let me lay down on the couch. So I lay down on the couch and I tried to kind of relax and she had to take the dog to the to get groomed. And so she said, well, let me go take the dog. You know, she took the dog and I was feeling better. And she came back and she said, well, are you feeling better? I go, yeah, a little bit. And I got up and it was worse. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I said, I gotta go to the emergency room. She goes, what's wrong? I go, I don't know what's wrong. That's the worst pain I've ever been in my life.
Hmm.
And so I got, and what made it even worse at this point, I had to go to the bathroom. And
Oh boy.
I was like, I gotta pee before we leave. you know,
Yeah.
which I mean, luckily, you know, we got a bathroom downstairs because I don't think I could have made it upstairs. And I mean, I didn't have to go that bad, but I was like, if I could, you know, I mean, you never know. I could be in the emergency room for hours,
Yeah.
you know. And so I said, let me go to the bath, and I went to the bathroom, and then I hobbled into the car, and I got in the back seat because she thought it would have more room, and I think it actually had less room. But she was trying to tell me, "Well, stretch out," and I'm like, "I can't stretch out. This is as good as it gets." And just every bump hurt, every stop, every go, it was miserable.
Sounds like a bone break.
Oh yeah, I honestly, Ellis, I was like, I don't know if I broke my hip. I mean, I wondered that. I couldn't put any
Hmm.
weight on that leg, you know. And so I got there, and she
You
pulled
got
in.
us in suspense, Scott. This is good storytelling. We all want to know
What
what's
happened?
wrong. What's wrong with you?
Did you
So, so,
live?
so we, you got us. You got us wanting more. This
so
qualifies as a story. Yeah, go ahead.
this is a story. So so she pulled up. Luckily, there were no cars there. Like I figured there'd be an ambulance but she pulled up under the portico, and she went in, and there was a wheelchair there, and she got the wheelchair, and I kind of fell into the wheelchair, and once I was kind of sitting in it, kind of sideways, I was fine. At that point, I wasn't in any pain, and so I wheeled myself in. She didn't have to push me in. Wheeled myself in, and she went over to talk to him, and so I went, and they were like, "You got to fill out some paperwork." And luckily, there wasn't a whole lot, and I'd had the foresight to grab my wallet, so I had my insurance paperwork, and they took me to the back, and I kind of talked to the lady. I don't think she was a nurse. I don't know what she was. Well, I think the first person was just a nurse, maybe that takes you back there to get you situated or whatever. And they determined that I had and I was worried that it was something in my back, but what it was, or what they think it was, and it seems to have been borne out, was you have a band that goes up the outside of your hip,
Yeah,
and that muscle on
I think
that
it's
band, I guess it is either next to or it surrounds your sciatic nerve.
Uh-huh.
which goes all the way down your leg.
I bet you got it from too much sitting, didn't you?
I've decided it was one of a couple things. It was either, I haven't at work. We do stretches every day.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't done them in 6 months because I've been
Yeah.
home, so I haven't been stretching. I read that you can get it from too much exercise, especially running.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
we've been running. I haven't been stretching, and I haven't been doing taekwondo. And we do a lot of stretching in taekwondo, and so that's something. And they gave me a. But anyway, that band, the muscle. It's a muscle. It's kind of up on your hip.
Yeah, it leads
It's kind
down
of
from the trochanter,
yes.
the great knob there, and it runs down and probably goes to the other inside of the knee or something, because
I think so.
all bones do that. They wrap to some extent, or
Right.
all muscles
All
do that.
muscles do. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, so they gave me a shot of uh,
Heroin.
the heroin, and I was fine. No, steroids,
Yeah.
and and then they had me drink what they told me was steroids. I don't. It was really odd. And then they gave me a couple of prescriptions, and then we left, and I went and laid on the couch, and I fell asleep. Michelle got my prescriptions. I ate a little bit because I had to eat with the prescriptions. And, that was Friday. And, by Saturday, I was feeling a little better. Now, one thing that I'm experiencing, and I'm supposed to go to my doctor Friday. One of the things that's bothering me is I have no feeling in the toes on my left foot. And I have a stick shift car. I drove today for the first time since this happened. Not very far. I ran to Walmart to get crackers because we had soup for supper.
Hey, Fly Fox. Just saying hi to some of the
Oh,
usuals. Hey, Nasser. Hey, Rusty Dale. Hey, Tolfer. Anyway, go ahead.
so anyway, so I am feeling better, but man, I tell you what, I learned my lesson about stretching. So I've been doing stretches.
Mm-hmm.
And stretching to me is always one of those things. It's the part of Taekwondo I hate
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's
Everybody.
like, why am I doing this? This makes no
Mhm.
sense. Now it's like, and like I said, my work takes
If
it
you ever,
very seriously.
if you ever tear a muscle, if you ever tear a hammy, you'll understand that
Why you do?
those,
Yeah.
yeah, those stretches would have been worth it to avoid this. Yeah.
Well, they would have been worth it to avoid this because when I went out after I left the back, they wouldn't let Michelle wait in the waiting room, and she told me she
Because of
goes
the virus.
the
Yeah.
COVID. Yeah, there wasn't anybody else in the waiting room,
Yeah.
and they said, well, you can wait in the car, and so Michelle had to go to where did she go? She went somewhere. Oh, did she forget her phone? She had to run home for some reason. Now, literally, this is a place that's within a mile of our house. It's very close. They just opened it. It's like it's a hospital is what it is, a small hospital with an
Mm-hmm.
ER. It's not an after hours clinic, which is probably where I should have went because um, when I came out, I was in so much pain. I told Michelle, I said, I've got to go sit in the car. Can you finish out the paperwork? I said, whatever you need to sign, just sign my name. It'll be fine. And so she did. Well, then she tells me later they didn't know what my deductible was. So they charged me $500. I go, holy cow. That I better see somewhere where that either got applied to the bill or I got refunded.
Yeah, I tell you, you got to
Because
watch
my
that. Boy, they're
deductible,
always ready to jump on
my deductible's
making sure they get their money.
$35.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I think Michelle said the whole bill was like $1,400. But dude, I was in so much pain, I didn't care. I still don't care.
Are you still in pain?
No, no. I mean, I'm stretching and I'm feeling better. Like I said, the toes on my left foot are still numb, which I can't, which is weird. But it's getting better now. I was until, I mean, like the first night I couldn't sleep because, like, if I laid there, I just felt like in my ankle and my foot, it was just like this stabbing pain.
Mm-hmm.
and especially with my toes not not having any feeling. It was just, I mean, like now they're numb, but for a while they were like, it was like pins and needles, you
Hmm.
know. But
Well, that's interesting. And you can now you because your work and everything requires that you do exactly what you're doing right now, which is sitting down. The
yeah,
other is that that can give you more than you think. I had something somewhat like that, to where I had a bad hip. Uh, yeah, here we go. Here, Natasha in International wants to tell you how to take care of it. Do some
oh, okay,
yoga. Jiu-jitsu gyms encourage that. So did Bruce Lee. Had pulled a groin from not stretching. Oh, she had probably. So did Bruce Lee and encouraged yoga. Had pulled a groin from not stretching in my martial art class before. Good
yeah,
evening, by the way. Yeah, well, I mean, all those leg snapping from the
yeah.
knee, snapping from
Oh,
the
snap
hip.
kicks, yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
going to
I mean,
be straining those joints, and
well,
you
yeah,
ought to always start a little slow, get them like. And something I always semi resented about any of these martial art disciplines is you get out there and you're expected to keep pace with someone that's got the conditioning already. You don't have the conditioning, and uh,
yeah.
and and as quick as you can, a guy should do himself the favor of going home and treating himself like Bruce Lee, where you're trying to reenact the scene where you're holding your hip out at eye level and just holding it there from Enter the Dragon, and then slowly pirouetting while you keep that foot out
No,
there.
yeah, yeah.
And when you can do that, you got the conditioning maybe for keeping up with everybody. But until then, you're going to hurt doing it, and
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
and it's like
Well, I just have gotten lazy. Like I said, at my work we stretch all the time, and we do stretches that would have I think prevented this. We just, I've been working at home, so we haven't been stretching. So Monday or Tuesday morning, I wrote a long email to all my employees and encouraging them to stretch, and I ended it with I was in a lot of pain and I had to shell out $500 cash. So don't be like me, stretch. You know.
now will you get that back, or because of
No, I don't
misfilling that
know.
out?
Well, I don't know. Who knows? I may end
Yeah,
up paying them more money. You know, I mean,
yeah,
doctors go. But
yeah,
if let me put it this way, I'll either get it back or it'll get applied to my bill. I can promise you that.
yeah.
In fact, my doctor's office, when I called them and talked to them, they made a big deal about who's your doctor. You know, we'll talk to your doctor. We'll send all this to your doctor. And so when I talked to my doctor, because they said you need to make a appointment with your doctor, which is fine. That'll be a lot cheaper. Uh, and they because I was a little annoyed because they gave me no information about stretching. And my doctor always does that. Anytime I've hurt myself, he'll give me just packets of information about, do this and do that, and you know. But
The Rusty Deo makes the point that Enter the Dragon is a classic. Didn't you? Wasn't that
yes,
your pick? Wasn't that your pick for a classic cinema podcast?
yep, we do a podcast called Classic Cinema Podcast, and that was one of my picks because I love martial arts movies. I love kung fu movies, whatever you want to call them. I've watched hundreds of them, and I think we all do. All the guys in the deal do. But I watched tons of them, and I wanted to watch one, and that was one that I considered a classic. There's a lot of good ones, but that was one that was a classic that fit within our criteria of movies that we review on that podcast, which is pre Jaws. Um, but anyway, so when my
Right.
doctor's
Sorry.
office, no, that's okay. My doctor's office had called over there, and they didn't have any record of me. And I said, well, if that's the case, then I'm going to put a stop payment, or not stop payment, but I'm going to dispute $500 when the credit card comes through. But then she laughed and she said, well, give me, and I gave her some more information because she said it should have been in their system and it shouldn't have, but she had to call the hospital. And then when she called them, I'm sure she told them, if you don't give me information, this guy's not paying you. Yeah, well, if they don't have a record of me, why should I pay them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's no paper trail, so they can't prove that I was ever in there.
Well, isn't the crux of whether you're morally right is
No.
whether you do things whether someone knows you did them or not? I'm kidding you. I'm kidding.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just kidding you.
Well, yeah. The
but we're talking money.
Yeah, we're talking real money, Ellis, not hypothetical money.
Yeah.
Uh,
Same here.
anyways.
The 80s were great for martial arts movies. Was Rusty Dale around in the 80s? Because I was. Yeah, I watched a lot of movies, but I haven't watched as many as Scott. Scott buys them 10 at a time on DVD and then actually watches the things.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. As far as we'll see, the 80s stuff wouldn't fit because we do it's pre 75 or 76 or whatever
70,
you're.
I think it may be
Jaws.
70. Yeah, it's pre-Jaws, and that may be 73.
Oh, I don't
think
anyway.
Go ahead.
Whatever it is, it has to be it because we feel like Jaws was kind of the first summer blockbuster.
It's the demarcation point. Yep.
Right. It did because up until Jaws came out, the summers were traditionally like dead for movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jaws kind of changed all that. And so we celebrate that by having our podcast be pre-Jaws, or we acknowledge that, I guess. But anyway, so what's up with you, Ellis?
Oh, not much. As I was prepping for getting ready to go on here, I found this. See this? This is a big old Ziploc sack, and I've got all my old con badges in it.
There's a San Diego con badge in there.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of San Diego con badges in here. Here's 96, where Ellis identifies himself as Sunset Strips living in La Jolla, and I was living in La Jolla. And in fact, that was probably from when I was living in a place, an apartment where Mike Miller and a couple other guys came in and used the living room while I just stayed in the bedroom and did my own thing. And that was the start of our little studio we had for a while together. And that was probably when Image was around the corner in La Jolla for a while. Now, wait a second.
Was it Image or was it Jim Lee's studio, the Wildstorm studio?
I'm not sure now.
Because the Wildstorm studio, at one point, the Wildstorm studio was on the beach in La Jolla because we went to San Diego Con must have been in 2000, and I met, and I forget who it was. I want to say it was Jim Nee, maybe. That could be I could be mistaken about that. We met somebody that worked at Wildstorm, and he gave me his card, and then we went to the Hard Rock Cafe in La Jolla, and that building that he gave me the address for is right across the street. I remember seeing it's kind of a triangle-shaped building right on the beach. And then if you listen to Rob Liefeld's podcast, he's talked about Wildstorm being in La Jolla. Because at one point, according to Rob, Jim was trying to get Marvel to buy Wildstorm. And supposedly,
they were in Miramar for a while. They were in Miramar for a while, but
I don't know where that's at.
Well, it's up a little. Well, it's obviously east of La Jolla, but it's right where the big air base is.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Called Miramar.
Gotcha. Anyway.
97. Well, anyway, so they were in La Jolla at one time, but I was wondering if they didn't upgrade from Miramar to La Jolla. I'm not sure. They
Oh,
probably did.
I
That
don't.
probably is it.
That sounds like the progression because I don't know what years you're talking about, but I think
No, no,
in
I'm
quarter.
fairly sure that's what happened. Yeah. Hey, look at this. This is a mystery one to me. I don't even remember whatever visit this was, but this is Walt Disney. I'm a guest of Jefferson. Oh, Jefferson Todd. Maybe I was a guest of Jeff Rancho. Maybe he had a funny name for himself. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. That's pretty
Professional.
cool.
I like that. All these say professional. If I ever need some sort of confirmation of myself, what year is
If you need
this?
some self validation,
Oh, there
you
it
can
is.
pull those
Look at
out.
that. Okay, okay. Here's a
Oh, that's
gorgeous
an old one. Oh man.
1988
Oh
Rick
my
Geary.
gosh. Oh
Rick Geary
wait.
art.
Oh, Rick Gary art. I was like, how'd you get it? I can't. I'm
How
looking at
did
the
I get Rick Geary?
TV.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you
can't
can't
read it on the TV.
you can't keep up with me on that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Rusty Deo is a 70s kid.
Oh really?
Oh,
Okay,
that means you're
I'm
not a
with you.
kid anymore.
Hey,
Sorry.
hey, speak for yourself. I am a '70s kid too.
Look at this. I didn't even know I was part of the La Jolla YMCA. How did I rank that?
Is it still? Well, you probably paid your dues.
I wonder what that
They'll
is.
let anybody in there. Guy, you look the same, at least in that blurry photo.
Well, yeah, kind of stupid and confused. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I didn't say that. I just said you look
Yeah.
the same. Uh,
Hey, look at this. This
so
is somebody that gave me their thing, and I
their
kept it.
exhibitor
Yeah,
badge.
yeah, their guest badge or whatever.
Oh, their guest
That back
badge.
back in
Yeah.
the days. I know who this
What
is.
year? Oh,
This is Rick Schmidt's
2000.
kid. Was probably Thomas Schmitz, and he was a pro supposedly though. So, but
Uh,
it originated from a pro, so I guess it went down to him.
the
Oh, weird. I got two of these things.
that was a 2003 badge.
Yeah,
Was
I
it?
think so. Yeah,
Did,
yeah,
did I read that right?
yeah. I think
I
so.
went in two. I went in 2003. I don't
Well,
remember having a badge that,
they look like that.
but you did. Yeah, I don't remember that weird badge.
2003
I
industry.
started
Uh,
going in 2000, and the first year I went, or maybe the first 2 years, I prayed for a badge, and then I started a web comic, and then I became a pro. Like I think I didn't go in 2001, but I went for quite a few years after that.
we're getting very close here at 87 to probably one of my first, because I arrived in 85 going into 86, right directly into 86. So
In San
if I
Diego.
yeah, if I find one that says 86, that will have been my first con. But
There you go.
this one might be my first con. And this artwork is by Jay Dooley. That was the thing. It was always a lot of these were, you might get 50 little different con uh, contributors on the art for it. Exhibitor.
Oh
I
yeah.
also have all the badges from when I went to professional cons for the game industry. This would have been an arcade game company called Leland Corporation in El
Oh, that's
Cajon,
cool.
and I would have been selling arcade games like Off Road and what was our other big hit? I forget.
You were selling off-road games? Holy cow,
Yeah,
dude!
yeah. Yeah. Hey, somebody else. Oh, UCSD Recreation. Let's see. Natasha Inc. Oh, yeah. The raid is very good. Yes. They
Oh
are.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They do
the
some.
raid
They do some
movies.
fights in that. I always liked. Someone had a GIF of Jackie Chan and opposite Benny Arcades, Benny
Yeah.
the Jet, in one of his movies. And I was always amazed. It's like those guys really brought it out in each other. For one thing, they knew that they weren't ever going to hit each other quite as hard as Benny the Jet was used to getting hit. And man, they went after it, and it was always really dynamic. And in fact, in this one, animated GIF or whatever,
GIF.
GIF. Let's go with GIF. And what's his name? Now I can't think of the main guy I'm talking about. Jackie Chan. Man, he just slaps Benny right on the back of the head, and it's one of these movements that's just so gloved up together. Benny is missing with his roundhouse, just as Jackie slides back out of the way, and it just goes right by his whole middle, but at the same time, his leg is falling through, and it's pretty amazing. 1989. I've got a lot of early ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll just go.
What was the last year you set up at San Diego?
Oh, well, I wasn't. I only set up 2 or 3 times, and it was actually their Paradox development. I was at an expo with another company. Those weren't necessarily happy years, but that's all right. Patty Moon. When I was
going to the game expos or working in games.
Oh, just the years. yeah, just the years they represent. I don't even know what this thing is. Oh, it's a workshop. This is a Nomon workshop. No telling who I was listening to talk about something. Nomon.
I wonder how many hours the average person wastes in their lifetime going to workshops and seminars and meetings where they're just like, why am I here?
Exactly. This is 1990.
My boss is trying to get me to go to one and about 3D printers. It's like
look at that. Look at this.
That's cool.
Do you even know what it is?
Well, hang on. I'm behind you. Oh, I know what that is. Yeah, sure. It's floppy drive or floppy disk, which is technically not floppy.
Yeah, it's not very floppy. And it's also something like, now figure out how to get the data off that. I've got no idea what's on it, and I never will again.
I have a Ziploc bag of them that I don't know what's on them, and I don't have anything that I think will pull them
exactly.
off.
You've got them for sentimental reasons now.
Well, yeah, that's about.
Look at this. It's just a blank form. That? I can't even tell what year it is. What year is it?
Where'd you find these?
Well, they were in this Ziploc sack I've got in one of my drawers that I don't open until I need something that's in that drawer.
I got you. I'm surprised those haven't been lost in the mist of time.
They should probably go straight to the trash can, but I'm not going to throw them away.
No,
Comic-Con.
I'll throw them away.
Huh? No, I won't.
Well, Hypno badge dealer. Oh, Comic-Con. Is that 90?
What did this say? 1990. Yep. Oh, Social Security card. Don't flash
that on there, man.
I didn't. It had something like that sort of data on it. Let's see what movie stub I kept. Some movie that was important to me. Mars Attacks. I saw that with Beata. Yeah.
That's funny.
Animation Society. Something I went to. Here we go. American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League. This is to certify that Ellis Goodson is a member in good standing with this league. With Pedro Carvalho is the president. He made a couple good videos. That would get me a heartache if someone thinks my dojo sucks. They'd come after me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, I ordered your book, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, by the way, yeah, I ought to be promoting that, shouldn't I?
Ellis's book is now available in print. It is what's the name of it again, Ellis?
It's called Curious Accounts. Yeah, and
Curious
you can
accounts.
and you can go to all my Amazon books by looking at the links in the thing in our comments section.
But here's the thing about Curious Accounts is
Oh yeah.
it is the comics that Ellis made based on short films that we have made. And I say
Hmm.
we've made it. Ellis has been the primary driver on these and the editor and everything. I've been in them as and goaded him into doing them. That's about it. But there's a couple that we did because it's got all three of them in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
One of them is the Hobo's Bindle, which
Yeah.
stars kind of a local. I mean, in real life, Ellis hired a local. What'd you call it? He's a horror host, I guess,
He was our
or he
weekend
was.
horror host. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was in it as kind of the hobo that had the bindle, and then Ellis after we and that was probably the big one in terms of length and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Ambitiousness. Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly in as cast. And I was in it, and my brother was in it. Who my brother is also an actor. He's been in not he's been in he does commercials, quite a few commercials locally actually. But and then a friend of ours, Dave, was in it also. But then it also has coin toss. Oh, USB to floppy disk drive. There you go. That's what you need. Uh, Coin toss was probably my favorite of the ones that Ellis and I did in terms of final product. I think it came out the best. But I enjoyed You Rang because You Rang involved walking all around and filming in a bunch of different
Yeah.
locations.
We probably had a little. It was a little too rich on the running length. So, hey, can anybody out there in the audience identify the artist I'm holding up? This is a kitchen magnet. I'll probably put it on my kitchen or refrigerator now that I've got it out. Also in that bag was a pack of cards that are Richard Corbin.
Oh, really?
Well, I've also got a Frazetta here, obviously. I copied. I've got tape all over them. Jeez, Goodson.
You didn't want them to get water damaged.
I guess I had them taped at the edges anyway. I've got them gum.
Oh, you're gumming them up for cheating, is what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I had them held up while I was doing copies of them, I guess.
Oh yeah, that sounds exactly like something you would do.
Yeah, exactly. Copy.
So what'd you do
Frazetta.
today? What'd you do today since it rained?
Oh, well, seemed like I did something kind of cool. I forget what it was though. There's Frazetta. That's one of my favorites because of the pose. That's so. And plus, if you want to think about some composition and some negative space and all that, look at that. Your eye is just going in a twirl looking at that.
Yeah.
It's like it's never unhappy as it looks at that. Here he is, a real unlikely opponent for a mastodon. Good old
Yes.
Frazetta.
One of the things I did do this weekend, Ellis, while I was immobilized, because I didn't feel like sitting up here and drawing, was I got my How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way and was reading through that. I'm convinced if you can learn all that, you could draw a comic. I mean, you could draw comics.
Oh yeah! Oh heck yeah! You'll
everything you need is in there.
Yep, everything.
And I just read it over and looked at all that great Buscema drawing, and
it's one of the great how-to art books in the world in terms of like just how to draw. It's a very good. It's a very good story, and the fact that it includes some notes about storytelling is, it's just a bonus.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think they use it anymore.
There you go. Yeah, that would go along with some popular sentiments. Yeah. Even though if you are at a level where you're knocking these guys that look more like animators and the old school of how comic art used to look, things
Yeah.
change. And those guys that are
Oh, sure.
animators are likely to be someone that would please my eye very much. I actually copied this one a long time ago. As a matter of fact, I feel like this was very important to me learning how to draw. Is I had a big sheet of whatever 24 by 36, that floppy poster board you can get from
Oh, sure.
a store, and yeah, poster board, big piece of poster board, and then I transferred it
Did
with a grid. And by the time I tried to slavishly get that thing transferred as an image, I was looking so closely at all the calligraphy and everything that goes on with Rosetta. I was just boring holes in my brain.
Oh, yeah.
I
That's
got a
not a
lot
bad
out of it.
thing.
Nope.
Yeah. In fact, I think I'm going to do a lot of that after I finish these 6 pages. Even though, hey, I got word today that the writer of the Big Easy Score, which is my New Orleans crime story that I did with a guy named Brian Tanner, he has submitted it to SourcePoint Press, which was so hopefully they'll pick it up.
Excellent. That would be great. Of course, I guess it doesn't, as far as IP things, that doesn't do them any good. If they, unless they get a piece of it as they send it along and upstream or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the general deal, is that if they send it, I mean, I'm worried about making the comic, but
Natasha International asked me what belt did I get to, Ellis.
Oh yeah,
and I was told by a blue belt that I was probably almost a blue belt. I'd probably given him a hard enough time. Basically, one of the things I never worried about was promotion in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is one of those reality-based kind of things where you aren't doing kata or whatever. If you can give a blue belt such a hard time that you can tap him, even get around to maybe tapping him, you're basically a blue belt. If you've got enough in your vocabulary that you can
so you don't have to do forms.
Well, yeah, if you can tap blue belts, you can say in your own mind, "Well, I'm a blue belt." If you've got a good sampling of blue belts that tell you that, I can't say that. I can't say that, but I never didn't give anybody a hard time that got a hold of me, So, so that's why he said I was probably almost a blue belt.
Gotcha. I don't know.
Jiu-jitsu?
I don't know if that counts. I don't know. No, I do Taekwondo. I miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Natasha International made it to blue. Blue, I tell you what, will give anybody a lot of trouble. And it's because of blue. I mean, a blue belt can get going with a black belt and give them a little bit of trouble anyway. But you'll see, if your eyes are like Joe Rogan's or something, you'll see just who out there is gliding around versus thumping around. Some people look like 4 sets of flat tires as they're grappling, and somebody else knows exactly how to switch their hips and get to here and there and all that.
I think I'm more the 4 sets of flat tires.
Oh yeah, everybody is.
Yeah, and yeah.
And this is interesting.
I still enjoy it.
This was when I worked on the game Ratatouille. I have a pack that's still all sealed up. That supposedly is scratch and sniff. I guess that one probably smells like a banana. I have no idea what the others are. But I'm not going to open them.
Nope, don't open them. You'll destroy the collector's value.
Yeah, right. That's what's funny. I had this thought as I found that Ziploc bag. It was like, this is something that will go straight in the trash as people, go over all my effects after I die. Straight in the trash. And you've kept it
Well,
for however long it dates from.
Yeah, but at that point, do you care?
Mid-90s. You know, exactly. I don't care.
You know,
No,
I've given my wife permission to drag if I go before
take
she does. You can take every bit of them, burn it in the yard for all I care.
Yeah, exactly.
You do whatever you want to do, whatever's easiest. Just whatever you. My wife is not very sentimental about stuff, so it'll probably end up. Luckily, I'm planning on outliving her, so.
Natasha International might be interested in this. Since it may not be more like a he. I don't know. Tell us, Natasha.
No,
that may not be.
No. I think she said she's a she.
She.
We've had I think we've had this conversation.
Okay, good.
And if I'm wrong, I apologize.
But anyway, my jiu-jitsu I started with, the very first instruction I got some privates up. I got some private lessons up by the racetrack, the Del Mar racetrack there in San Diego. And this guy was straight from Brazil that had been brought over by a guy that had done some his own little tough guy videos and stuff like that. And, he was a legit guy. I think he even did some bit parts in some martial art movies. But he brought over the real thing because nobody knew how jiu-jitsu worked. And they were really close to the best on teaching jiu-jitsu during this era of Hoist Gracie and all that. They weren't telling you everything right away. And it all had to be gleaned out. And then after everybody kind of had paid for enough lessons, then it became, hey, who are these other people doing all this instruction? And then the Brazilian sources all said, well, you need to know how to do this and this. So then all of a sudden it became a flood of information. But at the time I was taking it, it was just starting up as far as
was this in the 80s or 90s?
Lucrative thing. It would have been 90s and probably just whenever the first UFC was. I'll look that up real quick while we're talking. But anyway, this guy had a student that came in like me for private lessons. And he turned out to be an undercover kind of guy because he always traveled with somebody else, and he learned that 93 was the first UFC, so that would have been 94, 93, and he always was traveling with a bodyguard. Well, it turned out he was from the United Arab Emirates, and he was actually like a princeling of some sort, a sheik, and he dragged my instructor back, and together that became the Abu Dhabi competition that's just became world renowned from there. But this this Montero guy, not Montero, it may have been Montero, but he was the guy that got lucked out, impressing this sheik so much with what he was getting taught that he got dragged to Abu Dhabi, which I guess is probably a great place to live,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's just if you like no slums and lots of money floating around, it's a great place to live.
He's probably well compensated.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would rank that up with. I'm going to tell you, last 3 or 4 months, my idea of great places to live has certainly changed.
Yeah. Why is that? I'm sure I'm laughing along with that, and I'm not sure why.
Well, just because of all the pandemic and the chaos and the.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I always resent it if I feel like someone is actually experiencing that emotionally, is that they think the world is in chaos. The world is not in chaos. They've got a few hot spots of Democrat mayors letting things go to hell.
Okay. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it
I
does. It
mean,
does rev you up. Anytime you see a video on Twitter and it shows someone taking an unfair beating of any sort, that makes you want to
yeah.
slap the wrongdoers. It makes you want to get your own baseball bat out. But that is exactly what it is.
Well,
It's a mind
well,
control thing.
you have,
You know.
yep. Well, but you also have to understand, we have a good friend that lives in New York City, and I talked to her on the phone the other day, and she's not moving out, but she's very well off, works for a bank, and she has a condo in New Jersey on the I guess it's on the shore or somewhere. So it's some resort. It's a pretty nice area. I've read about it,
Hmm.
and she's going to stay at her condo for a while because outside of her apartment, which is very close, okay. So I watched Vanilla Sky the other day. You've
Oh
seen Vanilla
yeah, yeah.
Sky, right?
I have. I've seen both
Tom,
versions.
Tom, okay, so Tom Cruise lives in the Dakota, right? Famous
Right.
John Lennon lived there. Well, at one point, I think it's a dream in the movie, but he drives that Ferrari 250 GTO out of a garage, which is not in the Dakota. It's actually in the building next door. Well, Michelle's friend lives in the building next door, and she said that they've because of the pandemic, they have moved people out of the homeless shelters and into hotels in her neighborhood or close to her neighborhood. And she says there's just people sleeping on the sidewalk and doing drugs and everywhere. And she's like, it's not safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she is, and and everything else that's going on with crime in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's
yeah, it's
all
just
on
like
De Blasio, as far as I'm concerned. It's like you don't
oh, absolutely.
when you let people out of your jail system willy nilly, you are saying, I
Yep.
don't care if I'm basically saying my constituency deserves to have a crime waves unleashed on them because every guy that is violent and is prone to just almost being compulsive about it uh, is a crime wave. They are literally going to go out and hurt five people before their day is over, and in some way they're going to take property
well,
from them. They're going
well,
to hurt them physically, or do something to them.
well, and he's also disbanded the police unit that was in charge of, and it was and he ran on this that he would stop doing the stop and frisk, which a lot of people didn't like because they felt like it targeted minorities, and so it was kind of a controversial thing. Um, but that was one of his things was I'm going to stop this policy that I think was instituted by Giuliani. Well, one of the things that policy did was a lot of guys, I say guys, a lot of people that got arrested from that, they'd frisk them. When they frisk them, they find a gun. You
Yeah.
can't have a gun in New York City. It's almost impossible to have a gun. And so
Hmm.
they were getting a lot of guns off the street, and all those officers he disbanded that unit. and
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah. It's
anyway,
like
and
if you, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, at one point I thought, man, it'd be great to live in New York City, and now I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm not sure I even want to visit at this point. You know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about many other places I much more enjoy going at this point. So I don't know how we got talking about that.
I forget it too.
Well, it's just like,
Rusty Ayo says the earliest UFCs they were great. Then the Gracies came in and it went downhill. The Gracies started it, so they're coming in. You mean when they showed up for the show? Yeah, they always because I tell you what, back in that day, if you were clueless about what went on if it hit the ground, forget it. If you had a Brazilian black belt in jiu-jitsu that went to the ground with you, you were toast. And the only people that ever gave them trouble, and they kind of avoided this, but if you were a world class wrestler that knew just
holds and stuff.
well, not even necessarily holes, but holes they didn't even use. A world-class wrestler, if he gets you in a headlock, go ahead and try to get an arm bar on him. You're not going to get an arm bar on a guy that's got a devastating headlock on you. But they had to, focus on getting people off the street like me.
Speaking of focus,
in terms of growing their business, But I never will forget that guy that went on to Abu Dhabi. He told me when I had my first grappling thing with him. And there's a weird thing about grappling. Your mind takes it in almost a, what do you call it, a photographic memory kind of way. You remember almost every square inch of your movement as you grapple. It's kind of funny that way. And I don't know how much, but but as I grappled with him, he told before I started, he said, anything goes. He says, if you want, and this kind of scared me as I started. He says,
no, God.
if you want to squeeze my fill in the blank, go ahead and do it. I could basically attack his groin if I felt like it, while I'm fighting him. He says, anything, I'm trying to do a Brazilian accent.
Did you feel like that?
I didn't feel like it because I was pretty well.
You were fine not doing that.
I was put in an inferior position pretty quick, but no, he let me go and go after him, but I had no idea how to go after him. That's the deal. A guy doesn't know. The main thing you got to do is just like attack joints, and there's only a few ways to attack joints and attack with chokes. And if you know a few chokes and how to attack joints, it's that becomes. But then you get kind of tunnel vision on it, and you got to get to where you can flow, saying, "Oh well, that's not working. Now we'll go over here." And
well, that's all.
That's everything. That is everything in fighting.
That's all of martial arts. Yeah, it's like what
is that flow?
That's
yeah.
Yeah, you don't do one thing. You do, what you react. You have enough in your repertoire to. That's why you got to do the katas.
Yeah. You're right, Rusty. There was a guy, and I wish I could remember his name now, but there's a guy they wish they hadn't brought in off the street for one of their Gracie matches. And he had no trouble staying out. He had no problem not having them lock up on him in some way. And plus, a wrestler never goes to his back if he can help it. You're losing if you're going to your back.
That's how you lose.
And so he was always working. They never were able to beat him at the idea of staying up in the top position. And from there, you've got to work that guard, which a wrestler's always going to be keeping his elbows in tight. He's not going to let him have your joints, and he knows exactly what you're after when he's going to try to lock up on you and stuff.
You say a wrestler, you're talking about like a collegiate.
Yeah. This guy,
right?
This guy was an Olympic wrestler, and I wish I could remember his name. But they brought him in once, and they would have been a nice feather in their cap, but it ended up being like, we better stay away from wrestlers, because you don't want to. You're not going to build. You're not going to build the brand by flopping on your floor on your back with a wrestler. Yeah, Natasha says, I will say this: it comes in handy in a bar fight. Yeah, well, you wouldn't be a bar fighting. You'd be using your, what did you mention earlier, your Jeet Kune Do on a bar fight. Her go-to is shoulder locks and takedowns. Yeah, judo helps a lot on knowing what you ought to be doing on a takedown. If you've got the presence of mind to step on somebody's toe and shove them, that's actually a pretty good takedown.
The only thing about judo is there aren't any kicks in judo, are there? You don't kick in judo, do you? Or do you?
No, well,
'Cause judo's all grappling, isn't it? Or am I mistaken?
Well, judo is like enter forcefully and pivot on people and take them down. But judo has every submission that jiu-jitsu has. Judo was around first. In fact, the guy that went to teach the Gracies, I think, was more of a judoka, a judo student than he was a anything you'd call jiu-jitsu. But my history may not be accurate on that. I'm not sure. I just know that they also tried to get one in their cap. They wanted to let the old man, who I can't think of the name of now, that started Julio. Anyway, they brought in a wrestler named Kimura, who I guess they named the move after him that he used on him, which is to lock up your arm and twist it, and it's basically a shoulder lock, like Natasha talks about. But the old man Helio, is it Helio? I think so. Helio, does that sound right? But he got that joint locked up, and I think he broke it. I think he dislocated his shoulder, but he didn't. Submit.
Oh, God.
But so he became well thought of for having beat the Gracies by the Gracies. They were people that were willing to say this guy's got the goods. He can beat us. But that was the other thing. I remember back in the day when old black belt magazines were being sold, and they had those little ads. They were small ads. The Gracies were kind of tight with their money. They'd have like a little quarter-page ad that said, "Come down and get your ass kicked." And it was a challenge. It was a challenge to worldwide that they would accept a fight with anybody in the world. And
oh, really?
Yeah. And they were filming them, of course, too. That was how they were doing ads for themselves.
that was their shtick, was they filmed it.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Or their money angle.
And a lot of those films were became popular sellers, later. And let's see how long we've been going. Hey, look at that. I've got an internal clock that's amazing. An hour and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Two guys, Natasha International says, 2 guys started. American Kano, he brought judo. Teddy Roosevelt became a black belt. That's right. Matsuo Maeda went to Brazil and taught the Gracies. Matsuda Maeda went to Brazil and taught the Gracies. Yep, those sound right as far as names go. Yeah, 2 guys started it in America. Yeah.
So I've changed this panel, Ellis. I'm going to go back to the, I don't know if you remember this. This is the panel that I was struggling with last week.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did this. And this was the original one, and I was like, I don't like it. And so I went in and I cropped it. I actually got my proportion wheel and measured it and cropped it.
Very cool. Yeah.
And then
I tell you what, go ahead.
Then I blew it up and printed it. I didn't lightbox it because this is the same. This is the original one, and I still got the stuff on the other side from the one I didn't care for, and so I did this. I think it works a lot better. It does. It's still not perfect, but
what? You ought to go totally manga on that truck and try to make your entire focus that character that's pole vaulting over there or jumping right,
sliding on her
sliding on a zip line, and just go with like totally blurring out that truck and just giving you an abstract artist's notion of that truck. It'd make it easier. It'd make it more pleasing to look at and it would be too static if you just put hard outlines around it. You ought to.
I'm thinking about make it.
Since you haven't
that.
you haven't moved in on it yet, I wanted to try to give you some input that would probably make it better.
No.
Look,
It's funny you say that because I was thinking about doing that with the wheels for sure. You know, kind of doing that manga thing where it's all jagged. You know.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll do that. It's a perfect spot for something like that.
It's not, the 70s porn mustache. I know who exactly you're talking about. And there was two of them with porn mustaches, actually, and they fought in Japan a couple of times, I think. One of them was in a Godzilla movie, if I remember right. God, what's his name? Because they loved
Nick Adams.
They love their UFC. They love their UFC or their mixed martial arts in Japan, and they'll make you a star doing other things. Hey Scott, we've been at it an hour and 5 minutes. You ready to quit?
I'm ready to call it, man.
Okay.
Yes.
How's your hip? How's your hip? Since we started with your hip, we'll end with your hip.
Okay. I'm feeling good. My toes.
So those steroids, those steroids are miracle workers, no question. But you shouldn't try to.
Oh, they're amazing.
You should try not to use too much of them. Okay, we'll end. Hey, everybody,
okay.
Thanks for dropping in.
Yep.